Hey guys, HackerSploit here, back again with another video. Welcome back to the Hack the Box series. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Traceback and we're going to be using Pwnbox. Alright, before we actually get started with that, I just want to take you through the all-new Hack the Box platform redesign. Because for many of you who are not familiar with Hack the Box or haven't used it recently, Hack the Box has recently redesigned their platform and it's available under app.hackthebox.eu. And the really cool thing that I like is as soon as you log in, you now have a getting started guide that actually lists out a few articles on their knowledge base that will help new users actually get accustomed to the system, which I think is great. One of the issues that new students used to have or viewers on my channel used to have was exactly understanding how the system was working regarding, getting first bloods points, how machines work and how challenges work. And of course, setting up the VPN. So there really wasn't an introduction, but now there is. And it's fantastic that they give it to you immediately so that you can get accustomed to the system first. Now it works before you actually get it. You actually get your hands dirty or your hands wet for that matter. That being said, you can check out their knowledge base. I think it's fantastic. They have a lot of articles that answer a lot of common questions that many students have. So for example, how to introduction to VPN access, how to play machines, any issues with your VPN, which a lot of people usually get. You can actually take a look at how to troubleshoot that right over here. Really well written articles. But yeah, let's take a look at the machines and challenges. So again, the machines page hasn't been changed that much, of course, apart from the overall UI design. What you have immediately is you get two machines. You have the machine that's coming soon and the machine that's almost retiring. In this case, it's Traceback, which is the machine we're going to be taking a look at. And you then have at the bottom here, your machines sorted out in terms of active machines, retired machines. And you also have a to-do list, which I think is fantastic. So you can actually add machines that you want to play later or that you want to play, and you can sort of curate your own list based on what you want to do. I think it's fantastic. What you can do if to actually launch a machine, you actually just click on it and a machine the actual menu will slide from the right here, and you're able to spawn the machine. You can add it to your to-do list. You can review the machine, or you can check out the forum if you want to actually get help from the community. Now, when you take a look at the actual summary here, it gives you a difficulty rating in a bar graph right over here. You get the operating system, the rating, and the amount of user owns and system owns, and when it was released. Now, I've already pwned this box and I've submitted the flags. That's primarily why I'm going to be taking you through it. And of course, you have the points right at the top. Now, the cool thing that I like is the machine matrix. So if I just click on a Traceback right over there and then I click on statistics, you can see that we have the machine matrix. So this matrix graph actually displays what type of box this is based on rating. So again, this is very useful if you're finding a particular box based on custom exploitation, whether you're looking for a CTF based machine, whether you're looking for enum based, real CVE, etc. Now in the case of Traceback, you can see that this is more of a CTF and custom exploitation based box, which is great. It gives you an idea of what box you actually get, what you're getting into, and therefore you can then structure your methodology going in. Instead of looking for, or instead of enumerating or focusing your time on enumeration, you can now focus on actually trying to, if it's CVE based, you can focus your time more on that. So really cool. You can also check out the retired machines. The retired machines are a great way to practice if you are a VIP member. For many of you who are actually getting started or are trying to practice for the OSCP, these are some great boxes here that actually are very good for preparing for the OSCP. You then have the challenges, which again hasn't changed much, and it's quite similar to the machines page, which we have the live challenge, which right now is an OSINT challenge. And then you have a staff pick challenge, and at the bottom here you have all your challenges sorted out in terms of active challenges, retired challenges, and you also have a to-do list, which I think is awesome. You can then curate your own list. So you have your categories here. You have reversing, steganography, cryptography, web challenges, which are my favorite. You also have OSINT for many of you who are getting into that right now. So really cool. That being said, let's actually get started with today's video. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be using Pwnbox. So typically, the way you would connect or the way you would use Hack the Box is you'd set up your VPN on your pen testing distro of choice. Well, now we have something called Pwnbox. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Pwnbox is, I'll just explain it to you. So you can see if you click on your top right here under connection settings, you'll be taken to connect to Hack the Box page on your right. And you have two options. You can either use OpenVPN or you can connect to the HackTheBox network using OpenVPN, which is the OG way of doing it. And then you have Pwnbox, which again, you can actually see what it tells you. Pwnbox is your own web-based Parrot Linux instance to play on your lab. So essentially, Pwnbox is a customized hacking cloud box that allows you to actually hack all the machines and challenges on HackTheBox. So that means you don't have to set up any distribution. You don't have to set up hypervisor. You don't need to install VirtualBox. You don't need to set up Kali or Parrot. You don't need to set up the VPN. All you need to do is just click on Pwnbox and you can access your very own ParrotOS instance through your browser that has all the tools installed and also has persistent data backups, which means that every time I start up a session and I save data, it'll be backed up, and when I start a new session, that data is restored, which means I now have persistence, which is fantastic. So connecting to it is very simple. And one thing I want to point out, if you're a VIP user, you'll have 24 hours of monthly access to Pwnbox. In my case, I've used about 3 to 4 hours, and you can see I have about 20 and a half hours left. So using it is very, very simple. To connect to it, you just specify your location, and it's going to sort it out in terms of ping, right? And it's going to be in the form of it's going to display the one that your best ping is going to be the smallest amount, right? So in my case, it's the United States with about 16 milliseconds. So I can click on that. I then specify my VPN access. So again, if you're a VIP user, I'm just going to use a VIP lab. So US VIP lab. And then I want to specify the VPN server. So again, we'll just wait for that to configure. So I'll click on VPN server, and I can specify any of them right over here. So I'll say US VIP 1, and we'll wait for that to configure, and we should be able to start Pwnbox in a few seconds here. So there we are. We can now click on start Pwnbox. And while that's starting, you can actually see it's actually killed my previous instance. If there was one, it's going to start initializing a new instance. Many of you may be asking, the question, why on earth would I want to use this? Well, given that you don't have to set up a VPN or a VirtualBox or any hypervisor, and you don't have to set up any distribution, you can pretty much access this from any device. It can be an old laptop, it can be an iPad, which I've actually tested this on, really is fantastic. All you need is a browser and access to HackTheBox or access to an internet connection, and you'll be able to actually hack on HackTheBox, which is fantastic, right? So you don't have to deal with all the setup aspects of it. And again, the features are fantastic. You have all the tools that you want. You have the ability to actually, as I said, back up your data and have it restored when you start up a new session. And really is fantastic. So I'll be showing you that right now. So again, you can see it tells me I can open up the desktop in a new tab, and it does this via VNC. I can terminate the session when I'm done, and I can open up an SSH terminal if I don't want to use GUI. And of course, I also have a Spectator Link, which is awesome. The Spectator Link is a link you share with anyone whom you want to actually share. You actually want to demonstrate something to. So again, if you want to actually share your hacking, or you want someone else to see what you're doing, you can actually share this link with them. So I'll click on Open Desktop here, and we'll just give that a few seconds, and it should give me my fresh HackTheBox session, of course, but I have some data backed up that'll be restored. So there we are. Immediately we're greeted with ParrotOS here, and it is a custom themed version of ParrotOS. I'll hit enter to get started, and there we are. So we can now get started hacking. So the first thing I want to do is I want to start our machine up. So I'll go to machines, and in this case, as I said, we're taking a look at Traceback. So I'll click on Traceback right over here, and I can spawn the machine. So we'll click on spawn machine. That's going to create the instance, and it's created for us right away. What I'm going to do now is just click on the IP address. I'm just going to click on just to copy it there, and we can now get started. So immediately on your desktop, you'll have two important directories. You have your useful repos, which actually contains useful repos that you'll most likely use, like seclists, privilege escalation, awesome scripts. You have Linux priv checker, so on and so forth. And you have the My Data directory, which is where you store all the data that you want backed up. In my case, I have the Traceback folder that contains the Nmap Scan that we'll be using. Now, given that this is a CTF box, I'm going to be taking you through exactly what I've done and how I was able to pawn this machine. And again, we'll really be focusing on that primarily. I'll be explaining what I actually did. So let's get started. I'm just going to open up a terminal here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change or modify the background. So you go to profile preferences here, and we'll go to background, and I'll make sure that is a solid color. There we are, and I'll increase the font size so you guys can see what's going on. Excellent. So the first thing I want to do is we'll go onto my desktop, and we want to go into my data directory. Sorry, that is under cd my data, like so, and we can then go under traceback, like so, and we have the Nmap scan right over here. So I will just cat the results of the Nmap scan, and I'll just show you my actual scan here. So I'll scroll all the way to the top here. You can see my scan is as follows. I performed an aggressive scan, and I scanned all ports, and the results are as follows. So we have an OpenSSH running on port 22, and we have a web server running on port 80 and is running Apache. We can also see this box is running Ubuntu. So we've got quite a bit of information from there. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to open up Firefox here, and we'll open up the web server first of all, just to see what we're dealing with there. And this should be, I'll just close that up here, and I'll paste in the IP that we copied, and I'll hit enter. And there we are. So I'll just maximize this. So you can see this is telling us the site has been owned. I've left a backdoor for all net-free internets, etc. And we get the hacker name here, or actually the person who created this box. Now, the interesting thing about this box when I was doing it is if you take a few pieces of information into consideration. Number one, the box is called Traceback, right? And you can see right on the web server, it tells us that this site has been owned or essentially hacked, which means a hacker has hacked this site. And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to trace back all the actual hacker's steps, or to actually find a way in through, as I said, one of these backdoors that the hacker has left here. So what we can do now is if we view the page source here, and I'll just click on that right now, you can see we have some basic CSS here, which internal CSS. So you can see that is primarily controlling the blinking of the page. And then at the bottom here, we have a comment that actually tells us some of the best web shells that you might need. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. This is quite clandestine, and as I said, this is more of a CTF based box, which means you need to look for things that are out of the ordinary as opposed to misconfigurations. So we click on the first link here, which takes us to a GitHub repository that actually matches the string we provided, some of the best web shells that you might need for web hacking. And if you take a look at it here, we can see that we have a list of all of these shells here. These are all PHP shells. And what I did was I actually started performing a directory brute force with dirbuster. However, that did not reveal anything important. So I've pretty much tried each of these names here, or each of these shells, to try and see which one would actually be on the server, if any. So I tried pretty much all of them, and the one that was on the server was smevk.php, right? Now, of course, what I did was I created a list that contains all of these names, which I'll actually show you right now. So if I say copy, and we can then open up something like Sublime Text here. So I'll just open that up here, and we'll paste all of that inside. You can see I pretty much copied all of this in here, and I got all of the names here. So again, you can do that and then run this with dirbuster to perform a brute force, which is exactly what I did. And as I said, the shell that was on the server was smevk.php. So if we open that up here, I'll just open this up here. So smevk.php, sorry. .php, there we are. You can see it takes us to the admin panel, or the login page for this particular shell, and we can see that the name of the shell is smevk Patan shell version 3. So what I can do is I can just search for that on Google just to learn more about this, and we have the same GitHub repository again, so we can click on that shell here, and we can try and see what this shell is doing and any other information that we have. So immediately you can see we have the ability to set up settings here, and the default username and password is admin. So we can try and use that to log in, and we'll do that right now. So I say admin, admin, and I just hit login, and I'll not save the password there, and immediately we're granted access to the server. So immediately you can tell that this is a web shell or a backdoor that's very advanced. It actually gives us a ton of functionality. And right at the top, if I just zoom in, you can see that this gives us at the top here some information about the box. So we can see we're running Apache, and if we click on one of the options here, so we click on sec info, this will actually enumerate information about the box for us. So you can see it's running Apache on Ubuntu. We know it's running Ubuntu 18.04, and the Linux kernel version is 4.15. So I'm thinking we really don't have much in terms of exploits we can run against this box, and this is just some general enumeration. Now the interesting thing, if we go to the file manager, which is where most of the power lies, you have the ability to change the directory. We can make a new directory, we can execute a command, which is excellent. We have the ability to upload files, and we can make and read a file. Now the key thing to note here is we're currently logged in as the web admin user. So what we can do is we are currently in the var www html directory as listed right over here. What we can do is try and see what directories we have under the home directory. So I'll click on change directory and I'll just say home, and we'll use these arrows to enter, and we hit enter, and we have two users. We have sysadmin. So if we try and access sysadmin, it tells us we can't access that, and we can then, I'll just go back into the home directory here. So I'll say home, and we'll hit enter, and we have access. If we can click on the web admin directory, you can see that we have access here. So we don't have any particular flag within here. We only have a note.txt. So I'm guessing we need to actually get access to sysadmin or to the sysadmin user, and then we need to get access to the root user. So if we open up this note.txt, we can see we get a note from the sysadmin telling us that I have left a tool to practice Lua. So Lua is a scripting language. I'm sure you know where to find it. Contact me if you need any questions. So again, we pretty much, if we take a look at the services running on the box, we can see that we have SSH, and we pretty much can get access to or via SSH through one of these users, because we have direct access to the files within the web admin directory. What we can do is we can add our SSH key. If I just go back to the web admin directory, if I, I'll just list that here, click on files. If we take a look at the SSH directory here, you can see we have the authorized keys page. So what we can do is we can generate our own SSH key here. I'll just open up my terminal here. And we'll just scroll all the way to the bottom here, and I'll generate my own SSH key. So what we'll do is we'll go to the bottom here, and we'll say SSH key gen, hit enter. It's going to say you want to generate it in the default directory. I'm just going to hit enter. I don't want to enter a passphrase here, no passphrase, and it's going to generate it for us. So what I'll do now is I'll go into my SSH directory here, and we will display the content. We'll actually just display our public key. So I'll cat our public key, so ID RSA. We need to actually provide the .pub here. So idrsa.pub, and this is our public key. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to actually paste this into the authorized keys of the web admin users. We'll copy that, and we'll go back into our browser. So there we are. We'll go back into our browser, click on authorized keys, and right over here we have the ability to edit the file. So I'll click on that, and we can then paste in whatever we want. So we'll paste in our public key here and click on the arrows to save it, and that looks like it saved it. So there we are, it tells us it saved it. And we go back into our terminal here. I'll just click on that. We can now log in as the web admin user. So we say SSH web admin, and we click at 10.10.10.181, hit enter, and we'll click on yes. We want to accept the fingerprint, and there we are. We now have access to the web admin user. So immediately we get a message, or a banner printed out telling us, I guess stuff could have been configured better, most definitely, and welcome to XH4H land. All right, so we can now display the contents of the web admin directory. We can see that we have the note that we were given, and if we display the contents of the bash history, which is very important because it'll actually tell us what was done within this directory, because we know a note of some sort was actually created. We click on the bash history, we can see that someone came into this directory, created a file called privesk.lua, and then used the sysadmin user to run the command, and it ran a binary within the sysadmin directory called loveit, and executed the privesk.lua file. All right, and then they removed privesk.lua and logged out. So that means we pretty much have to create a privesk or a Lua file, called privesc, and we can then run or use the Lua language to actually get a reverse shell, or better yet, we can add our own SSH key into the sysadmin authorized users SSH directory. So what we need to do is, if we open up our browser here, which is pretty much what I did, and we search for Lua reverse shell, and we hit enter, and we can open up the first link, which was very, very helpful. So you can see we have the ability to get a non-interactive shell. And we also have the ability to write files. So again, we'll just go right over here to file download. We can also have the ability to write to a particular file. So this is the command right over here. So it writes data to files and may be used to do privileged writes or writes outside a restricted file system. So what I did was I actually got this piece of code here, and you need to know a bit of Lua scripting, but for the most part it's fairly simple. So I'll open up Sublime Text here, and we'll close out the previous data that I had copied and pasted in there, and we'll just I'll just zoom in a little bit here so we can see what's going on. So what we need to do is, you can see that we have a function here that's saying io.open, so we specify the file to write to, and then we specify whether we want to append data to it. So again, the first thing we need to do is we need to specify the directory that we want to write to. In this case, it's going to be home sysadmin. So we say home sysadmin, and we specify the SSH directory, and we then say authorized. We say authorized. Let me just check that one more time just to make sure I'm getting that correctly. So if we go back into the home webadmin.ssh, we can see the file name is, sorry, we'll just go a step back. We can actually just click on files there. You can see it is called authorized keys, right? So we'll just go back into Sublime Text here. So that is called authorized_keys. And we then can append, right? So we use the A option here, and we can see that we have a semicolon. We want to get rid of that because that is terminating this. And then we write the data, which is going to be our public key. So we want to paste in our public key here. And to do that, by the way, we need to actually, we can actually access this through my terminal, which is where I'd copied it. So I'll just open up a new tab here. And sorry about that, I'll just go back in here, and we'll use tmux because that'll make things much simple for us. And right, I'll just exit 1 second. There we are. We'll use tmux, and we'll log in as webadmin for a second. So again, we say ssh webadmin 10.10.10.181. And what I'll do is I'll rename this tab webadmin like so, and we'll create a new tab here, and we'll go into the SSH directory like so. There we go, and we'll cat the id rsa.pub on my public key, and we'll just copy this. We just want to copy this because we're going to be saving this to that particular file. So we'll just copy that, go back into Sublime Text, and we want to write it in here. So I'll just paste that in there, and we want to make sure that this is a new, we specify a new line, and we want to get rid of the colon there and at the end here, because we don't want to terminate that because we're going to be running this in the Lua file. So we can copy this now. That looks all right to me. Yeah, so we can copy this. We can go back to webadmin through our SSH access, and we list the files in here. What we can do is we can echo this, and we'll echo this, the contents here, or the script that we just created, and we'll echo this into the file name that was specified. So privesc.lua, and we hit enter, and we can now list our files. So we cat the contents of privesc.lua. Let's see if that was actually successfully pasted in there or output in there. Yes, indeed, it looks like that was done correctly. So if we cat the contents of bash history now, you can see that let's see, this is, yeah, so you can see that we use the sysadmin user. So we use sudo, so we say sudo user sysadmin, so sysadmin, and we use the binary within the sysadmin directory, which is home sysadmin, and we say love it, that's the binary name, and we say privesc.lua. So that's the file. We hit enter, And it looks like that was successful. So that means we can now log in as the sysadmin user because our public key was added to the authorized keys. So I'll go back into our session 1 here and we'll say SSH web, no, actually using sysadmin now. So sysadmin at 10.10.10.181, hit enter. And looks like we get the same banner, but in this case we get told that we failed to connect to the to Ubuntu here, so check your internet connection. So it looks like we don't have an internet connection. We can hit bash for a bash session, and there we are currently as the sysadmin user. If we list the contents of the sysadmin directory, we have the user.txt file here. So again, I'll just cat the contents of user.txt. We get it there, and we can take a look at the love it binary, which pretty much will be just gibberish at this point until we can reverse engineer it, but we don't need to do that. So again, that is the contents of the love it binary. Now, if we list the contents of this file, we also have bash history here, which again I printed out, but again did not reveal much regarding the regarding anything important here. So again, it's pretty much empty. If we cat out the contents, again, we already know the distribution, but if we list it out, we can see it's Ubuntu 18.04. Uname R, again, that tells us our kernel version, and performing privilege escalation on this was pretty much impossible. Used the Linux exploit suggester without or to no avail, and that really didn't give us anything important there. Again, we can list out the processes PSAUX, and we can grep the processes belonging to the user root here, and we'll hit enter, and that doesn't give us that much information. However, if we take a look at the process right at the bottom here, we can see that we have what looks or appears to be a cron. We have a cron command here actually copying, that actually runs the CP or the copy command, and copies a file or copies the message of the day file or all files within the message of the day directory into etc update or message of the day, which is very interesting, which means the message or the banner that gets displayed every time a user logs in is restored or is actually restored from a backup. So what we can do now is, if we actually go into cd var and backups, and we take a look at the update message of the day directory here, and we list out the files in here, you can see we have the header, we have the help text, and we cat the contents of the header. We can see that this essentially displays the kernel version, and it says welcome to XH4 land. If we display the contents of the help text here, which I'll just hit enter, you can see that essentially just displays again the standard Ubuntu text here. Again, I'll just list the files within this, and if I cat the message of the day news, you can see that this actually checks, looks like, let's see what that actually just prints up news. But the most interesting is, if we take a look at the actual header file, that contains the message that is displayed to us whenever we log in, which is welcome to XH4H land, which means, and you can see this is a bash script, this is copied into the etc message of the day directory every 30 seconds. So if I say update, sorry, that is etc update message of the day, and we go into this directory, what we'll find is, if we list the files in here, we can see that they're being copied in here every 30 seconds. So what we can do is we can modify the header file, and we can put in a reverse shell, bash reverse shell. So I'll just go into the into my browser here, and again we can just search for a simple bash reverse shell. So I'll just open up my tab here, say bash reverse shell, hit enter, and there we are. We'll click on reverse shell cheat sheet, and we'll get this one right over here. So this is the reverse shell we're going to be using. So what we can do now is we go back into our terminal. We can essentially get that, and I will essentially just get rid of this code in here and paste in the reverse shell. What we can do is, if we check if we have Vim installed or any text editor, it looks like that is not installed. So we hit enter, looks like Vim isn't installed. We don't have any internet connection. So we have Nano installed, so we can use Nano, and there we are. Looks like we have access via Nano. So what we can do now is we can paste in our reverse shell. So I'll just get rid of all of this here. And remember that this file is going to be overwritten every 30 seconds. So what I'm going to do is we'll just modify our shell. So we'll just go back into Sublime Text and we'll put in our IP here, which is going to be our Kali, sorry, not our Kali, but our Parrot OS box here with Pwnbox. So that is displayed at the top. So that is 10.10.14, 0.14. So I'll just 0.14.22. And we'll use the port 1234 to get the actual reverse connection back. So we'll listen on that port and we'll just copy this now. So we'll just say copy and we can then paste this in here like so. All right. So before we do that, let's open up a new tab here with tmux and I'll say netcat nvlp1234 to listen on that particular port. And we'll go back to our sysadmin session. I'll just rename it sysadmin so that we know which session we're currently in as. So sysadmin. And we can then hit Control-O to save, and it's going to say file on disk has changed. The file was modified. I'll say yes, and then I'll output it one more time, and I'll now exit, right? And what we can do now is we can try and log in. So we will go into a new tab here, and I'll say SSH web admin at 10.10.10.181, and let's see if we get a reverse shell. So it looks like we're able to connect, but the file was overwritten again. So that means we'll just hit exit. We'll go back to sysadmin here and we'll modify the file one more time. And we'll just go all the way to the bottom here. And we'll just get rid of all of this other information from the bash shell. And oh yeah, I forgot we need to change this to bash because we're actually going to use a bash. We're getting a bash reverse shell. So all the way to the bottom, paste in our reverse shell. Control-O, hit enter, Control-O. Yes, we want to hit enter and we're just going to save this now and exit. And we then want to go into our bash session here and try and log in one more time. And looks like we should be having a reverse shell with root access. There we are. So we go back to our netcat listener and we now have root access. So again, we can go into our root directory and we can then cat the contents of the root flag. So again, we just say that is root.txt because we don't have job control, and there we go. So we easily get the root flag. So this is a very interesting box in that we needed, we are dealing with Lua. So very, very good learning experience there. If you're new to Lua, you can actually check this out. I'll be posting a write-up of this where you can actually, I'll actually take you through all the stages I went through. I, of course, did not start off with the, SSH as my primary access vector. What I did was I actually used a PHP reverse shell. I uploaded it to the web server, got access like that through web admin, and I was able to get a somewhat unstable Lua reverse shell using this one right over here without job control. And I was able to go through the machine simply using the non-interactive reverse shell as the sysadmin user, and I pretty much was able to use the echo command to output the files or the contents of my scripts into the files, and yeah, I was able to get access that way. So that being said, that's going to be it for this video. I'd love to hear your feedback regarding this particular box and what you think of the techniques I used. I would love to hear what you guys were able to do on this box if you've done it already. That being said, that's going to be it for this video. I'll be seeing you in the next video.